Alright, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, screw you, Rifkin, because I just realized what you or whichever mod did this, I assume it was Rifkin, who updated the exclamation mark casters thing to say the cast is brought to you by that guy from Reddit. Okay. Yeah. Hilarious, Mr. Vampire. Everyone go to isrifkinavampire.com because it's an awesome website. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, Dust Towers, we have, of course, the teamless but awesome Australian Terran player, Red Terran iaguz. And his opponent, spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, the Blue Zerg player, the Korean from Exile 5. Give it up for KingkOng. I guess it makes sense to play Zerg if you're gonna name yourself KingkOng. I mean, KingkOng is like this primal beast, this epic player, like, or sorry, not a player, a unit, a monster. What am I? An animal of epic proportions. Why was that word so hard for me to remember? But he was an animal of epic proportions, so it kind of makes sense. Like, you think Zerg, you think Ultralisk. What are Terrans struggling with these days? It's the Ultralisk. So KingkOng is a pretty just name, as he does go for the 3 attribute 4 pool, and already that's sort of a sign that he's gearing up for that late game macro play. But, you know, I have seen Zergs turn it around. I'm not going to call it a little bit too early on that. Factory plopping it down over here for iaguz. iaguz is one of those macro Terrans. He is one of those Terrans that I actually think kind of similar to Major in my mind, just has stuff. And you're like, where did you get that stuff from? I don't see other Terrans have that kind of stuff after what kind of stuff you've done. And you're like, wow, that was very stuff. A lot of stuff. That's probably the most accurate description I can give of iaguz's play, but his macro, effectively, is what I'm trying to say, is very, very good. It's very solid macro. He's very good at making sure that during engagements, he's continuing that unit production. He's ready for round 2. He's always thinking about those next steps. Now, is KingkOng going to be prepared for something like that? I don't know necessarily how. I haven't seen a lot of iaguz in Legacy of the Void, and I don't know how aggressive he's been. And that is one thing that a lot of Terran players have felt like they've had to do. I know iaguz especially, when he is struggling with a race, he makes sure that everybody knows about it. And I don't know, but I can assume that, you know, as a Terran player, he's probably one of the players that may end up struggling with late game Zerg play, just because, again, he's a player that seems to do well in macro-oriented games, and those tend to go toward the macro-oriented late game situations where Ultralisks start coming out. So I'm curious to see how iaguz is playing, if he's playing aggressively, if he's sort of saying, like, I don't need to play super macro oriented, or I need to play a little bit more aggressively in this series. But we do have double liberators coming out from a reactor. This is sort of interesting. Gonna be able to do some nice little harassment. Now, KingkOng is going to have a couple of queens out. He's going to go up to 6 queens, which is more than enough to start dealing with some of that liberator harassment. But of course, also has a decent number of these Zerglings out. Going to be able to deal with the Hellion harassment. Although these Hellions are pretty well controlled, and I love when Hellions get into this nice little choke over here, getting some great pickoffs. Look at this control from iaguz. Is he almost going to be able to make it through here? No, doesn't quite manage to get all the pickoffs, but does a really good job of it. Double Liberators are scouted over here, though, by the Overlord from KingkOng, and he immediately throws down that Spire. He throws down a Baneling Nest, and we're going to be seeing that sort of return to style that some Zerg players have been going for, where they go for that Ling Bling Muta. From Heart of the Swarm, from Wings of Liberty, from basically like the beginning of time. Well, I guess not the beginning of time, because that would include Brood War, and there definitely weren't Banelings in Brood War, but still, Ling Muta, a very, very common thing to be going for, and it was less common at the beginning of Wings of Liberty. A lot of Zerg players were sticking around that Roach Ravager style, maybe going to Hydralisks and Lurkers and stuff, but we have been seeing more and more Zerg players go for the Mutalist play, along with the Zerglings and Banelings. I know Zombie Grub is not a huge fan of the Baneling play, because she says, you know, she's seen a lot of games where it doesn't really play out so well. But as we put that thought on hold, as we see Liberator up to 4 kills, 5 kills, may even be getting a 6th if these drones aren't careful, or some more of these drones that are popping out. Well, no more drones popping out, but Still, a lot of damage being done over here. The Queen looks like it may be able to get a pick off on this Liberator, which is really nice. Liberator just barely getting picked off and not actually able to make it out of there. But iaguz is already accomplishing quite a bit of damage. 6 workers killed for one of those Liberators. Also, some lost mining time. Going to be able to kill off a couple more. May even be able to kill off a Queen if the Queen isn't careful. As the Queen tries to make its way around, and it should be able to pick off this Liberator, or at least force it back. And the Mutals are finally out now, and that is going to be a big reveal for iaguz as he sees all of this and has had a good amount of time, or is going to have a good amount of time to get up his missile turrets, is going to be able to prepare. He already has his engineering base finished up. He's getting up his armory. He's getting ready to transition into, you know, big old bio play. And I heard a Widow Mine burrowing somewhere. Oh, we got a couple of Widow Mines, some sneaky Widow Mines burrowed behind this refinery. We'll see if those come into play. One of these Mutals might actually set off that Widow Mine preemptively. That's a scary thought. Oh, one Widow Mine. Okay, pretty good hit. And there's the second Widow Mine. Okay, well, iaguz definitely getting bang for his buck with those Widow Mines, taking out 2 of the Mutals already. And soften up a decent chunk of the remaining ones. And that really does make it quite difficult. 4 Mutals is not really a high enough count to do a whole lot. This is going to end up retreating back home. And pumping up that Mutals count a little bit further, since he really just didn't go for a Roach Warren or anything. I mean, there's no Roach Warren, there's no Hydralisk, and he's really just sticking around on Ling Bling Muta. So, the fact that KingkOng was able to get up to 73 drones, that's really awesome. But this is where you need to start pumping out those units, start pumping out those Banelings, and dealing with the forms of aggression that iaguz is going to be putting on. iaguz is making his first push out across the map. A single Marine stems forward and sees that the Banelings are being morphed in right now. 1-1 is finished up for iaguz, and if he can get a good engagement off of Creep, as he seems like he's going to be able to potentially do, I mean, takes a couple of good, gets a couple of good Baneling hits. KingkOng not in the worst situation over there. iaguz going to be backing up and saying, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much. I don't want to be sacrificing my army right now. But he's going to continue to macro up behind this, continue to get those upgrades going. 2-2 already more than half, or at least halfway finished. Okay, I can't math. Apparently, close to halfway finished. And in the meanwhile, 1-1 still only now finishing up. Of course, also getting up the +1 flyer attacks. I always love when Zerg players get those flyer attacks. I feel like it's one of those upgrades that so many Zerg players just completely forget to go for. But the Mutals count is halting for now at a just 15. Just enough to deal with Liberators, or, you know, potential, or sorry, not just Liberators, but Medivacs, picking off drops, and all of those kinds of shenanigans. But he doesn't want to overproduce them just because he knows iaguz is producing those Liberators. Liberators will massacre a large number of Mutals, and there is sort of a point of diminishing returns for those guys. Baneling hits not the greatest over here, and iaguz looks like he's going to be able to push on in, doing a lot of damage to this 4th expansion. Mutals trying to engage directly, and oh, there are the big Baneling hits. And the Widow Mines are already on cooldown. Liberator's going to get taken out, and KingkOng salvages his 4th expansion pretty handily. Cleaning up quite a bit, but at the same time, we have some these Widow Mines doing some damage over here. We got 8 and 6 kills. I'm not sure if KingkOng is aware of it right now. The Medivac is dropping out. Yet another unit that does get cleaned up over there. Another Widow Mine over here in the natural expansion. There's just Widow Mines everywhere around the map. And oh, these Widow Mines might end up detonating on some of these Banelings. Does KingkOng realize it? The Overseer does spot him, and he is going to be able to clean him up. And just in time, no! Well, it's not going to be a massive loss. 1 additional worker. But not restarting a lot of this creep. That is I don't want to say a big mistake, but it is going to be a bit costly because it's going to make it much easier for iaguz to continue to push on in. And look at this. He's once again just straight off of the creep. He's going to be able to take engagements and still continue to pressure this 4th expansion. But so many Banelings are around that I don't think it matters. Even with the great Widow Mine hits, or, you know, Liberator hits on those Mutalisks, it seems like, oh, well, actually, hold that thought. A couple of Marines managed to take out quite a few of those Mutalisks. Not exactly the best trade, and if he ends up continuing to engage, he might end up losing too many more of his Mutalisks that might be a bit dangerous, but he does clean up iaguz's push very, very handily with a lot of Banelings. A very, very Baneling heavy style. Well, the big problem that I'm starting to spot right now is, hey, iaguz, you're making Liberators out of your starport. Well, you know what you don't have? You really don't have that many Medivacs. That could be a problem, because when you only have 2 Medivacs, every stim becomes very costly. Look at how low energy these medevacs are. This one's got 44 health energy. This one's got next to nothing. I guess has got to be very, very careful about how he approaches this, because behind this KingkOng, getting up that Ultralis Cavern, getting up Pathogen Glands, really setting up that late game. And I guess has not been able to bust through the front of KingkOng. He's really, really struggling with it. Oh, Zombie Grove in the chat saying, I feel like Banelings are fine. I like Banelings fine. Okay, maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I dreamed that I co-cast with you, and you were just like, I'm not a big fan of Banelings right now in ZvT. That's probably on me, so forgive me on that. Forget I said it, ladies and gentlemen. But a couple of Banelings making their way on in. As once again, KingkOng is just going to continue to get this massive Baneling count. Now, what he is lagging behind on are definitely those upgrades. 2-2's on the way, Adrenal Glands is on the way. He's starting to get those upgrades, but he's not going to have it for this big push in. And once again, iaguz has to make some damage happen. Even if he is going for his own 5th expansion, he wants to shut down this 5th expansion of KingkOng, and KingkOng is setting up for a counterattack, or is this the flank? It looks like a counterattack, and iaguz is going to try and meet this head on. The Zerglings alone are not going to be that great against the Bioforce over here. He even pulls back with a decent chunk of this, leaves a handful of Marines and Marauders. iaguz is starting to pick KingkOng apart. The counterattack swing did not work out very well for KingkOng. And iaguz storms on ahead, even with his low medevac count. His one medevac has got to heal up all of these units. It's not looking so great. He may want to actually, this may even be a situation where you want to pull back. You do not want to be overstimming your units, or you could be in a lot of trouble. Do not lose your entire army over here, iaguz. But he is going to continue to push on forward. A lot of very low health units. Some of these medevacs starting to come into the mix. He's starting to heal back up, and he's starting to take okay engagements. He's already pre-split, and those Baneling hits are pretty brutal, but he still just has enough. It is just that stuff I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. iaguz just has stuff, and he continues to keep his stuff alive, especially those Marauders that do not tend to die versus those Banelings. And finally, we're starting to see some of those Ultralis popping out. 4 Ultralis out on the map right now. 3 Ultralis out on the map right now. Soon to be 2 Ultralis out on the map right now. But iaguz is still pushed back. Those Ultralis with chitinous plating still going to be a little bit too strong. 3-3 just now finishing up. A little bit late for iaguz, as that was a very long push in. But he kills off a 4th expansion, or a 5th expansion. And that's going to be a really, really nice win for iaguz. But he's still got to stay alive somehow against these Ultralis. He doesn't have a whole lot. And the Liberators are going to be useful against the Mutalisks. Oh my god, a great... that Widowmine shot in combination with the Liberators going to be enough to clean up the Mutalisks count. And he's just barely, maybe going to have enough to clean up the Ultralis. I mean, the Liberators are going to be helping out quite a bit with that. And iaguz holds. iaguz stays up a base against KingkOng, and even if KingkOng has a lot more Ultralis on the way, which, okay, I say even, but there's still got to be some response from iaguz. He's got to get out his Ghost, he's got to get out a massive Liberator count, he's got to get out something to deal with those Ultralis, or it's gonna be it's gonna be curtains for iaguz in this game, despite how well he's been playing. But still, he's going to be out economying KingkOng, and there is definitely a lot of value in that. I know that a lot of Terran players have been complaining about those Ultralis, but hey, if you just have that much better of an economy, then it can work out. I wouldn't say that iaguz is at that point just yet. This is still a brutally scary army. Oh my god. These Ultralis with even an Infestor in the mix, one good fungal growth, and this could be curtains for the army. And a counterattack swing could just devastate iaguz, but these Ultralis are very far out of position. In fact, these Ultralis are going for the counterattack. I don't know how much I like that decision from KingkOng, but I mean, of course, I do have more information than KingkOng does have. Infestor getting taken out over there. As it pops out, these units are already kind of split up. The Ultralis trying to go after this 5th expansion. A lot of the Banelings moving in, but this walling in is so difficult to bust on through. Only 2 of the Ultralis can attack the Planetary Fortress, and at the same time, iaguz is cleaning up the 3rd expansion. He's cleaning up some of the tech. He can go after the Baneling Nest and the Infestation Pit. The Planetary Fortress is still holding on strong. It is going to get taken out eventually, and iaguz is going to be losing some of these units, but Still, okay, I was about to say he trades okay over there for a planetary fortress, but he loses quite a few of his bioforces. The more important thing, though, is that he cleans up so many of these bases. He cleans up the 4th expansion. He cleans up the 3rd expansion. A single Ultralus. This is the Ultralus that has got to defend so many bases at once. The Ultralus on the outside of the map now trying to deal with the repair from this planetary fortress. The planetary fortress is starting to get these units low on health. The units are coming in. The ghosts are here as well. The ghosts can start sniping off these Ultras. As iaguz has done it, I think that he might have. And I think that's it. I think that's what iaguz needed. He cleans up all of these bases. The 4th, the 5th, I guess up a 6th expansion if you count this one as being sniped off earlier on. KingkOng is literally not mining right now with his 43 drones. Maybe long distance mining, but really effectively not mining. His ultra has been cleaned up. GG gets called. iaguz gonna be victorious in game number 1.